Hi everyone, it's Alison here again. In this video I'm going to be talking about the Uranus move into Taurus in May 2018. Uranus enters Taurus May the 15th, 2018. So in this video we're going to be talking about a couple of things. We're going to go over Uranus's Discovery, Uranus's Astronomy, Uranus's Astrology meaning, Taurus's meaning, and then have a look at Uranus and Taurus and your signs. So Uranus was actually discovered on the 13th of March 1781 by William Herschel, who was actually a German-born astrologer working in Bath. And with some notes from his diary, we know that he said that he actually discovered it between 10 and 11 in the evening, which is great. So we have this time to cast the chart of 10:30 p.m. So this is the chart of Uranus's discovery there in Bath, England. And you can quite clearly see that is Uranus. The red arrow is pointing to Uranus. And if you look at the horizon, what's below the horizon, the only two planets above the horizon at this point are Uranus and Neptune. But the moon is actually bubbling under on the ascendant and will rise soon. And once that moon has risen, there'll be so much light it'll be difficult to actually see these planets. So it was a most opportune time when he actually made this discovery. If we look at the discovery chart, there are several aspects to Uranus in this chart. First up, we have Uranus the position is Uranus is at 24 Gemini 27. That's the position Uranus was when it was discovered. Uranus is actually Uranus square the Sun. Uranus 90 Sun means Uranus is square the Sun. That's the red line going down to the Sun. That's one of the aspects to Uranus. Next up, we have Uranus is actually 872 to Mercury. That means that it's got a quintile to Mercury, which is a brilliant aspect. Uranus is then opposition Mars, MA, and that you can see the red lines running across the whole side of the chart pointing to the other side. And Uranus is also opposition Saturn, because in this chart Mars and Saturn are conjunct, both opposing Uranus. And if you notice, they're actually creating a T-square pointing to the Sun. So with all T-squares, the energy of the actual T-square will be expressed through the focal planet, and in this case it actually is the Sun. So challenges, disruptions, and so on. Already we know that Uranus is going to, don't want to say it be a difficult planet, but it will have a lot of things going for it in the push and shove department. And it's pushing the boundaries, because up until this point of Uranus's discovery, they only thought the planets went up to Saturn. Going back to the Uranus 72 Mercury, which is the quintile, this is the aspect of creativity. And it's when you take the chart, the 360 degrees, and you divide it by 5, you get 72. And that is the light blue line pointing down to Mercury, which brings the actual meaning of the mental side of Mercury in towards the meaning of Uranus. So where we would consider that Mercury is your everyday mind, where you would say, well, where did I leave my keys and something like that, it's connected to Uranus to indicate that Uranus can show lateral thinking and abstract concepts that are, I don't want to say of the higher mind, but they're not your everyday automatic pilot mind. This is where ideas come from. We also notice that Uranus is contraparallel Mars, so that is the aspect of declination, meaning that Uranus was, I'm not sure whether it was either north or south, but one was north, Uranus was north, and Mars was south, or the other way around, but they are equally so, and it's called a contraparallel aspect of declination, which reinforces the aspect of longitude, which is the Uranus opposition to Mars. So that is like a double whammy message for us, that Uranus is opposition Mars, and showing some of the challenges that will come through that Uranus. So Uranus is astronomy. So there is our little diagram. The Sun is in the center. The planets going out are Mercury, Venus, the Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and the light blue one is Uranus, and then the darker blue is Neptune. So Uranus is quite far out. Its orbit is around 84 years to go a full circle around the Sun. And we always aspire as astrologers to reach the age of 84 to receive a Uranus return, which is really a big deal. The axis is tilted to 98 degrees to the plane of the ecliptic, meaning that it's, although if you know the Earth's aspect axis is tilted to 23 degrees, Uranus is tilted at 98, which means it's almost spinning on its edge going through. And Uranus also has a ring system, and we can see this, not as well structured as Saturn's. But if we have a look at this image, you can see that the rings are very much lighter, but because they're spinning high up, it's showing that Uranus is tilted at that very wide angle of 98 degrees, which is crazy. I mean, none of the other planets or anything like that. So that was unexpected as well. Image courtesy of NASA. So the glyph for Uranus, in the little blue circle there is the glyph that we're using these days. But back in the day, when Herschel discovered this, it's actually an H. And if you take those two curvy ones going in and straighten them up, it was like an H over the circle. And that's how his initial went into the actual glyph to start with. Just an interesting by the by, but of course it's morphed and changed now, so we have the two circles of spirit combined with the cross of matter over the circle of the soul to give more meaning to the archetype of Uranus. So Uranus was the god of the sky, or is the god of the sky. And in the mythology, Uranus was the son of Kronos, which is Saturn, so it's one out from Saturn, and the grandson of Zeus, or Jupiter, so Uranus is two out from Jupiter, because it goes Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus. So let's have a look at some Uranus keywords that we use generally in astrology in a broad sense. So, New Age. That encompasses many things, because Uranus actually rules astrology. And that's astrology students, astrology practitioners, astrology groups, and anything to do with astrology generally comes under the rulership of Uranus. Other New Age practices as well, but not necessarily as much as Uranus, as astrology. Another keyword there is an awakening, because Uranus is an awakening for us, and where it features in your chart will be an awakening for you. Next keywords for Uranus is broken and all its derivatives. So Uranus rules brakes. It can be like the brakes on your car, or when you break a leg, or anything to do like that. Breakdowns, and these can be mental or physical. Breakups and breakouts. So it has a lot to say about relationships, human relationships. If you have a breakup with your girlfriend, it's going to be shown by Uranus. If you actually have an accident or something, that is also ruled by Uranus. And breakout, so this is where a bit on the rebel side comes in, and people want to just break out of the lives they're leading. So there's some general keywords there under the heading of broken. Uranus' other keywords is original, which is a great word. This is the planet of originality. It shows your genius in your chart. It shows your original thoughts, because every time we think, although we're having an original thought at the moment, we might just say, oh, I'll have toast for breakfast. It's not exactly original. But when you start using that higher mind, you can bring in original thoughts to create something good in life. I did mention before it's lateral thinking, and that's taking stuff that's generally well known and taking it down another route, thinking sideways, virtually laterally, and exploring situations and principles that way, and to do with concepts in a broad sense. But Uranus is the originality in your chart. Another key word there for Uranus is oddness. So anything that's quirky or unusual, unique or unexpected comes through in Uranus. It's just unexpected, and things coming out of the blue, things that you couldn't easily predict will come through Uranus. One of the other keywords is hooligan, and this covers all sorts of upheavals. So it's rebels, riots and mobs, protests, revolutions, any resistance, and the agitators who create and fire up the group to start with. So if there is public protests about what is going on, it's under a Uranus rulership. Because there's no one face at the front, it's the group. Next keyword up is trends. So Uranus shows what's coming, the new trends. fashion fads and also freak. So when new fashion comes out, sometimes it really is kind of weird and think, gosh, but in 5 years' time, we're all wearing it. So it's anything on the cutting edge of fashion, and people who work in fashion and design that's very edgy are ruled by Uranus as well. So it does show trends. Next up at Uranus's keywords is electricity, because Uranus rules electricity, but also all waves, sine waves, radio waves, and microwaves. And anytime you drop a stone into a pool and you get that circular wave that comes out, if you look at it sideways, it's actually making the wave up and down. So Uranus rules all things like that. So Uranus's body parts, which is always a funny way of saying body parts, anyway. So in the body, Uranus rules the circulation. That is the blood that's circulating through your system. Because it's opposite, it rules Aquarius, and it's opposite the sun, which is the heart. And the heart is pumping the blood, but Uranus is actually ruling the circulation of that blood through the system. So they work together. Uranus also rules the ankles in the body, because if you know anything about astrology, you know that Saturn rules the knees and the shins, and then Uranus rules the ankles, and when we get down to Neptune, rules the feet. So it's the part of the body going down from, we always take body parts, starting at Aries at the head, ending at Neptune at the feet, and Uranus is the second one from the end, so that's ankles. So people with prominent Uranuses will tend to have a twisted ankle or a swollen ankle or a broken ankle. It's one of those things. And because of Uranus's connection to electricity, it rules the actual synapses in the brain where thoughts originate. It's a difficult thing to see because to appreciate, because we can't actually see it, but that's what's going on there. So then let's just compare that to, we've got Uranus moving into Taurus. It hasn't been there for 84 years. So let's get some Taurus keywords here. So first up, Taurus is fixed. It's stable, earthy, solid, and immovable. It is like the earth. It doesn't change. It just is. It's solid and immovable. Taurus is also concerned with our sense of touch, and anything that is sensuous, or when you touch people, not necessarily or physically, but certainly that, and you put your hands into somebody else's aura, which is typically 10 centimeters wide from the body, you are tapping into some Taurus features there. Taurus also rules farming, agriculture, and the land. So the land, the earth itself, the products of the land, the produce. So it's particularly plants I'm talking about here, not necessarily cattle and so on. So it's to do with how we grow from the land, how we manage the land, and how we actually feed ourselves by creating food from the land, because our early ancestors may have happened across a tomato, but it was only once agriculture came in and we started organizing farming that we were able to provide food on a regular basis. So anything to do with farmers markets or the little farm stall on the corner is a Taurus type event. Taurus's other keywords is money as the natural ruler of the second house. So Taurus rules all banks and currencies and monetary systems and credit. So credit is what you can raise. It's not necessarily, it's your credit limit, but it's not the actual that you've spent it. Once you've spent it, that's a Scorpio thing. So Taurus shows the funds you can raise and almost your net worth against it. But it rules all currencies, and this is changing now, as we will see. Currencies are not necessarily, although they are paper and coins, there is a shift coming as well. So some Uranus and Taurus keywords, because we're now combining the planet and the sign to get something together. So awareness of our carbon footprint, because awareness is for Uranus, and although it's been spoken about, and car emissions, this and that, and don't use plastic bags, that is going to become, we're going to become more aware of it in the mainstream. Also, I believe that astrologers will actually be paid at worth, or their worth, which is actually an interesting thing, because generally I'm talking to astrologers at this point that if you are charging $10 to do a reading, that's what you think you're worth. That really is your issue. the astrologers, but if you actually are charging $500 to do a chart reading, that's where your worth is too. So astrology's worth will improve when Uranus goes through Taurus. The cryptocurrencies, and here I'm talking about Bitcoin and that ilk, and there are others, and all sorts of online banking, things like PayPal that's just done on your mobile phone, is going to get bigger. Now, if you live in the first world in the West, you think nothing of it, but for those living out, perhaps in Africa, where I lived for years and years, to have a phone where you can pay $10 and buy some food for your family makes a difference, and it's a way that your average man in the street who could not normally get a bank account can actually transfer funds and pay for things. And that will develop further when Uranus moves through Taurus. Money pools are coming to be a new thing that's cropping up, where a group of people get together, and this particularly was initiated through PayPal. A group of people get together to pool their money to do something. So it's almost like crowdfunding, or in a way you want, but that was more to get funds together. But if you as a family decide you want to, say, go on a family vacation, and everyone in the family adds $10, $10, $10, you can actually have this pool of money that the group as a whole will have access to their benefit. So it's a closed group, but you create the group for a particular purpose of raising money. Maybe someone in your household is getting married, and you're asking Aunt Agatha and so on to send in what they can, and you can create a money pool, and people far and wide can contribute. So general economic revolution will come from this. What we are now in 2018 to when Uranus leaves Taurus, the banking system will have changed. The way we handle money will have changed, and at this point it's difficult to even imagine how it's going to be. Typically, interest rates will change. We would assume they would go up, because I really don't see how they could go down much further. The current interest rate I've been offered was 0.5%, which is ridiculous. It's not even worth bothering with. Whereas previously, 20 years ago in Africa, we would have interest rates of 23%. So there's going to be volatility in that as well. So you need to, if you're not careful, if you're going to, for instance, take out a mortgage, I think you'll be better with taking a fixed rate and locking it in, because of the variability of interest rates that's going to happen. Also, this is going to be a time when energy for all, and by energy I mean not just physical energy, I mean power generated energy, where there will be electricity in homes across the world, where the distribution of available electricity will be a big thing, that people who are still living off the land will have access to these things, access to internet in schools, perhaps in Africa or Asia or wherever. And the internet reach will be wider, and it will become more in everybody's consciousness who does live in the West, that there are many, you could help many people with just one small contribution to a pool. So we also can expect upheaval in the food markets. And I don't mean the market down the road, I mean the actual way food is produced, and the fact that some farmers, for instance, just continuously grow russet potatoes because one big conglomerate only takes them for their fries. So we need to bring variety back in there. There should be many new and improved farming methods, and I do believe that hobby farmers will become more popular for the average man to have perhaps a half an acre and start growing stuff as well. Land ownership crisis. This may be that we found that few people own most of the land, but there will be pressure to apportion land, little pockets, to others. And this may come from the government easing up, because the Saturn is the planet for that. And I believe community gardens will come up. We see these now sometimes in Vancouver, where there is a small plot of land that it will not be built on in the city, and it's a community garden where people can go in, and typically they're actually growing vegetables in there, and it's just, you can just walk in and virtually help yourself, but people are going in to plant and to tend to it in a community way as a group. And these are strong things that will come through as Uranus goes into Taurus. So let's have a look at some of the specific changes that you can expect if you have a particular sign, and of course we all do. So I'm starting with Aries, and here I'm talking about an Aries ascendant. So you do need to know what your your chart is and know what your ascendant will be. So typically, if you're in Aries, the Uranus will be moving into your second house during this Uranus into Taurus. So the positive things that's coming from this straight off are going to be unexpected income, which is a good thing, right? You're going to get more money, unexpected sources. Improved self-esteem, where suddenly you can stand above the crowd. You do not need to blend. You can boost yourself independently of the group. So you will no longer feel that you need the group to approve what you're doing or how you look or what you do or eat. You will improve your self-esteem yourself. And unique values will come into play. And this means, what do you value more than money, or aside from money, where you are looking for things like integrity or compassion in people, and your unique values in your own personality will be able to come forward at this time. So the challenges here will be, for Aries ascendants, financial upheavals. Because although there may be unexpected income, there will be upheavals as well, and change in value. So what you again, that's what I'm saying, what you value today will have changed by the time Uranus has gone through seventh house, second house. So Taurus ascendants, your Uranus is moving into your first house. So the positive things are this, is a change in your physical body, because this is your first house, that we would assume, because Uranus is a planet that is usually tall and lithe and limber, changes in your physical body, awareness of self, because suddenly you will be more aware of what you're doing and your impact, and it will take you out of the group, that you can see this behavior is not working, or I need to change something here, or be kinder, or give more back, or something like that. And you will change your sense of self, who you are. And when you're saying things like I am, you will change that too. And your unique dress sense will come to the fore. So this means that you will actually be more inclined to really wear what you want to wear, and accessorize with things you want. Even if you're just a businessman, your briefcase is gonna be a little bit more unique, and there'll be that edginess to how you look. This is what I call the odd sock brigade, but that will be coming through. So challenges for Taurus in the first house will be a breakdown in the physical body, changes and a breakdown. It can be a challenge because your vitality is in the first house, that there will be changes. You may say you do twist your ankle. It's good. There's going to be changes. I would like to say it will be a good time to go on a different type of diet to build your strength up, but the breakdown will occur. This can also occur if you're trying to lose weight, and maybe you go into something like intermittent fasting to find a way to deal with the actual physical body and make it work in your favor. You will also be aware of your shortcomings and where you're actually not getting things right. This can be difficult if people are pointing out to you, being rude or something like that, and you need to get some better manners. You will be made aware of these situations, and you can definitely improve it. More awareness of self. And your circulation may weaken, so this can be a combination, because it's a health thing, it's a vitality thing, that maybe you feel the cold a little bit more, you get blue feet, or it's getting your circulation is not what it was. So here we always want to say, when it's Uranus and the ankles, that you need to have socks that are those that are worn by diabetics, where there's no top elastic, there's a soft top on your socks, and that will improve things as well. So for Gemini, Uranus will be moving into your 12th house. So the positive side of this is sudden private awareness. This is a time when you actually may want to seek solitude so that you can gather your thoughts and clear your thoughts as well. Breakthroughs in spiritual practices. This can be that, and of course meditation would be the way to go there, that you actually start to get the message about meditation, where you find that it actually does benefit your life, where it does something you can do in seclusion, and even if maybe you are a little lonely in your life, you will be able to find some happiness through doing these things, to be more in tune with your spiritual awareness. So a challenge right there is to be unexpectedly hospitalized, because 12th house rules hospitals unexpectedly. Who knows when's the last time you went into a hospital, but sometimes this can occur, that you suddenly find yourself in one. So for Cancer ascendants, Uranus will move into your 11th house. So the positive things about this is, if you're into astrology, you'll join astrology groups and want to be a part of it. You want to be a part of really any kind of new quirky groups at all, internet groups, something like that. You will create a new social circle, so that you actually go out and seek and find other people for your social life. So if you had a group of friends and you've had them for years, you may find now that they're just not doing it, and you need to find something new. And you may find some unusual friends, but you may not think they're unusual, but your old friends may. So it's a change in what you're looking for in your friendships. Challenges here will be then the other side of that is that there will be breakup with existing friends, because they're just not meeting your needs anymore. So if a friend has had their day, they either have to keep up with you, or you will actually let them go. By the same token, you may agitate the group. So if you are a member of some group, or you join the golf club or the astrology group, you will start to agitate to create change. If things have been going the same way for a long, long time, you will want to bring in something new, and you'll do that by agitating the group. Leo in the 10th house. Leo ascendant, Uranus moves into the 10th house. So the positive side of this is sudden fame. Wow, what can we say? You will have new careers, or even new career goals. So what we were working on now. So from here you can have an unexpected promotion and move things forward that way. And if you're into astrology, you will become known for your astrology and what you're doing. You'll be putting things out into the world, because it's 10th house. You're going to be putting things out there. The world will know you then as someone who's in the astrological circles. And certainly if you are in astrology, you can push that. Challenges too on this one will actually be that there may be notoriety, because if you do things which are not acceptable, you will be known for that too. And there could be challenges with authority issues. This is generally, I take it down that if you're speeding, you will get caught and get a parking ticket from the traffic cop, or you may find yourself having to deal with other authorities, headmasters, police, judges, and places like that, or even your boss, something in that nature. So ascendant Virgo, Uranus will move into your 9th house. So what are the positive things here? Is fresh roads will open up for you to take. And then we see a glorious little road going through the woods. If you're into astrology, this is the best time to publish any astrology work. I actually had a very positive experience when I had a planet passing through my 9th house, and that was when I was first published as an astrologer over 10 years ago, and it really does come to play if that's what you're trying to do in your life. And you can discover some philosophy. Also in there you can put religion, but you tend to start considering things more, and thinking about things, and reading different books. So this is a positive thing for Virgo. Challenges will be suddenly dropping education. If you're a young person at university, or even an older person in some college path, you may decide and just walk away from it. That can be a challenge, because it may not be the best thing for you, but you are inclined to want to do that when Uranus passes into your 9th house. And you may unexpectedly leave your religion because you are exploring others. You may decide you want to explore some of the Eastern religions, or go and spend some time at an ashram in India, or go to Jerusalem, or one of these things. And you may unexpectedly find that even after all these years, the traditional path you had needs to change. So that's ascendant Virgo in the 9th house. So if your ascendant is Libra, then Uranus will be passing into your 8th house. This is the positive thing in this is you will be genius with other people's money. So if you are someone who is in a mortgage broker, you definitely things will improve for you then. This will be a good time to break with your debt habits, because you can change them right there. And you can receive unusual support from others, and this will work if you are into something like politics, where you're looking to. You can also receive unusual support from others, and this means that if you're perhaps in politics, or you want to get voted on as the chairman of the PTA, People will support you, and they'll come from unexpected quarters as well. So that's a great thing if you want to push forward in some way. And intimate life changes, how you behave in your private life will change during this period as well. So what are the challenges there if you've got a Libra ascendant? So the challenges will be you could become promiscuous, or there may be some change in your karma, which is more likely to be the case, that fated things will come to you. You will start to understand cause and effect more, and what you're doing is how it's affecting other people, and how what you did in the past is coming back to you now, and you can actually then build better things to come back to you in the future. If it's a little bit like time traveling, but you do a good thing now and 10 things will be better for you next week. So if you have a Scorpio ascendant, Uranus will be moving into your 7th house. So the good things here is that you're going to have some original partnerships, that's 7th house stuff. Relationships will suddenly appear out of nowhere. Suddenly you'll be seen as a couple. And of course, if you're into astrology, you can definitely get a business partner at this point, or any type of new age partner. But they will suddenly appear, and it might suddenly be a good idea. So if you've never thought about having a business partner in the past, you'll want to do that now. The challenges here are that when Uranus does go through your 7th house, it can disrupt your marriage, and there can be breakdowns of relationships. You may be able to withstand it if you're actually in the correct relationship in the first place, but if not, you may find that it can be an indication of divorce at this time, which is quite a challenge because it's there for 7 years. So hopefully if you pace yourself, you'll manage to survive this. If you have a Sagittarian ascendant, then Uranus will move into your 6th house. Positive things for this is you could work as an astrologer or anything new agey as well. You can create some daily rituals that encompass astrology. And by this, I mean that you may decide to, when you wake up in the morning, you're going to be looking at the morning chart. You're going to check things out on a daily basis. You're going to follow the cycles. You're going to follow the moon, follow the sun's position, and really get to learn astrology through the simple ways of how it was done in the past. You're also likely to have very much so some genius ideas at work, and any good ideas at work. In whatever work you're doing, that will come to you, good ideas. And it's more likely that you'll have original pets at this point. Although perhaps all pets are original, one cat is different to a dog. But what I mean is there might be something quirky about them, or maybe you've got a dog with 3 legs or something like that. And in some way your pets will be original and different to what everybody else has. So the challenges for Sagittarian ascendant as Uranus goes into your 6th house are you could get a crazy work schedule. You might suddenly have to go in at weekends, suddenly have to go in at night and do some crazy times there. Because it's the house of health, you are likely to have weak and swollen ankles for whatever it is for your busy day. And again, unusual pets. So that can be the challenge, because if you do decide you're going to keep a crocodile in the bath, it will get to the point where it becomes a challenge and you actually have to do something about it. Yeah, kind of strange that. So let's move on then to those of you who have Capricorn ascendant. Uranus will move into your 5th house. So the positive upside of this is unexpected romance. Isn't this a good thing? Love life will improve because of unexpected romance. And leisure time is kind of random, and you may find yourself doing lots of different things, going to lots of different entertainments, parties, sports events, participating in marathons, meeting new people, having lots of romantic connections, and in a way a flood could come to you. You'll also find out at this point that astrology is fun, and of course it is, because I know that, and surely you do too, but you may actually find that it's a fun thing to do. It loses that, oh my gosh, this is such a difficult subject to learn, and it's so complicated and so serious. Suddenly it becomes fun, and you kind of see the light with astrology, and that's a great thing. Challenges for Capricorn ascendants will be that the changes in your love life, that maybe things have been going along on autopilot for a long time, and change will come now. It will either get better or worse, but change will appear. And children can suddenly appear. So this is an interesting one, that you may actually meet your new guy and he's got 3 kids, and suddenly you've got more children in your house. But of course it can be yourself, and pregnancy is definitely a possibility at this time if you have a Capricorn ascendant. So if you've got an Aquarius ascendant, Uranus will enter your 4th house in May. And the positive sides to this is sudden moves of home. Maybe you've been living in a place for so long. And not just one. So over the 7-year period, Uranus will be in Taurus, there may be many more moves. So this can be a challenge in itself, but in a positive way. New family members come and go. So you may find that your parents come back to live with you, or there's new kids move in, or your cousin comes to stay. And in a way, you can start to discover your roots. And this is not necessarily just your family tree or where you came from. You'll start wanting to explore the town you were born in and get a little bit more on the history of things. You may take it further and go back into your ancestry and find out where you were originated from, where your kinfolk came from, and explore that in an interesting way, or decide that you need to go back to Ireland because this is where your grandmother was from, and go and explore these things. And it's a way to add richness to your life. There can be foundations of life upheavals, and this is finding out that where you did come from is not what you thought you came from. So there may be changes there where you discover that something was interesting going on back in your past family history. Challenges for the Aquarius ascendants will be new family members, and this can be many people. It could be your new son-in-law, your new mother-in-law, your new stepmother moving in, and suddenly you've got new people you have to deal with, and they're part of your family. So in a way, you actually do have to deal with them and understand them and manage them, even if you're finding it annoying in a way. Electrical problems at home, and this can basically mean that this is going to be the 7 years where you need a new dishwasher, you need a new oven, you've got to buy a new fridge, the TV goes. It's all these, anything that's run by electricity is likely to break down during this period. And it can be a challenge for your parents if they divorce. So this may not affect everybody, but it's definitely a potential that happens. And this hooks into the changes and foundations of your life upheavals. If your parents do divorce and you're older or younger, it will come through at this time. And then if you have a Pisces ascendant, Uranus will be moving into your 3rd house. So the good things about this are that you can certainly take an astrology class and move on from here. Sudden appreciation of your neighborhood and where you are in life, your little place, where you can walk to from your home base. So you may not be saying, oh, I need to go to New York, I must go and do this. You actually start to be happy with where you are, and it feels more, I don't want to say it feels more like home, but you feel that you are as one with it, with the parks and trees and so on in your neighborhood. This can be a time when your siblings get weird. Your siblings are your brothers and sisters. Maybe they're getting odd, maybe they're going off at a tangent, maybe they just disappear. But for some reason, your relationship with them changes. You could also have an unusual commute happening at this point, because you may decide you're now going to walk to work or rollerblade, or you get rid of the car and in some way improve your commute. And your trend will be that local is better, that you'll be wanting to shop in your local deli, at your local butcher. You don't want to go 50 kilometers just to get to a big box store to buy something. You'll be happy to buy local stuff and support markets in and around your community. At the schools and so on, and fates, you'll be able to buy all your Christmas presents there, that sort of thing. So challenges for as the Pisces ascendants as Uranus moves into your 3rd house are that your car could virtually break down. There can be car accidents as well, and these can even be just minor things. You're hitting the lamppost as you're going in the garage, or your bus route that you have relied on for 20 years is suddenly rerouted, and this is, of course, a change for you. And you may find that your siblings actually break off relationship with you, or you just get sick and tired of them, or for whatever reason, there's strain happening there. And ultimately, after 7 years, they're more likely to come back to you, but how you behave will show a lot about how it actually works out in the end. So you can be careful of that. So Pisces was the 12th ascendant we were talking about. So in summary, when Uranus moves into Taurus, change will happen. Change keeps coming all the time, and the nature of the change only changes by the sign that Uranus is in. Uranus at the moment, because I'm talking to you, is in Aries, and it will move into Taurus. So what are the positive things? So change is relentless because Uranus continues to bring change into our lives. We do grow through adversity, and change makes us grow because things do not stay the same. This is an opportunity to keep things relevant, that you keep up to date with things. You're following along with modern trends because life is moving forward. And technology is here to stay. And here I'm particularly maybe talking to not necessarily young people, but people who are older who maybe are not quite getting the hang of the internet or don't fully understand how their cell phone works. Get over yourself. Learn how it works. It will improve your life. It's here to improve your life. Challenges are, of course, with any change that does come, that, well, this is a quote from old Star Trek, that resistance is futile, that change will happen, that, and whilst we may not agree with everything that is happening, how you react to it does make a difference. You can't be harping back always to the good old days and how things were back in the 60s or something. And you will be assimilated, and I particularly use that for anyone who's an immigrant, that you eventually come and you do fit in. Eventually, it does come to you. But this cycle of change and resistance is a 7-year cycle because it's Uranus's cycle. So even if you're going back to the immigrant thing, if you do immigrate to some country, it really does take you 7 years to fit in and even understand what it is and feel that it's home. So it's one of those things where change keeps coming and we have to keep adjusting to it, although we may not like it. You have to find ways to manage it so that your life is easier. Yeah. So this is a summary of the Uranus movement into Taurus from 15th of May 2018. So there it is. We've been talking about Uranus's move into Taurus, the effects of Uranus and the meaning of the planet, and the effects as it moves into Taurus and the meaning of that sign, the two combinations put together. And then we also went through each of the ascendant signs, and because Uranus will move into different houses for each sign. So thank you very much for watching. I do encourage you to subscribe to my channel. It does help me grow, and we'll see you next time.